Anita Sarkeesian and fans of Feminist Frequency, if you end up watching this, I just want you to know that I'm not excited, I'm not angry, you haven't challenged my worldviews, you fit into them. Sarkeesian has 2 degrees, a bachelor's degree in communications and a master's degree in social and political thought. The core of her philosophy is explained in her master's thesis, I'll Make a Man Out of You, Strong Women in Science Fiction and Fantasy Television. The first 20 pages of her thesis lay out the groundwork for her argument by quoting and referencing all of the feminists that she learned about in class. The following 22 pages are an examination of Anita's favorite TV characters under several archetypes to find out whether or not they are feminist. Pages 56 through 68 are a series of spreadsheets that look like this, and from then on is her bibliography. For those interested, her actual argument can be found in pages 44 through 55. Following class guidelines, her essay uses long quotes instead of original content or ideas to put across her point. But more important in the essay are the contradictions. One is featured in the title of her essay. She argues that strong, empowered female characters still aren't feminist because they're only pretending to be men. According to her, any women in a TV show who shows strong leadership is only doing so in a charade of strictly masculine traits. Traits like violence. Here is her outline of TV's current state. It's difficult to tell whether this diagram represents her view of masculine and feminine traits or what she thinks other people believe in. Under any oppressive patriarchy, shyness, submissiveness, and cooperation would be positive feminine traits. But also under such a patriarchy, shyness and submissiveness would absolutely be placed as negative traits for men. Does she really believe that modern television has no room for negative masculine traits? Or does she believe that other people believe it? The second diagram illustrates what she wants TV to give her, once again at odds with herself. Notably, she proposes significantly fewer positive feminine traits than positive male traits, with women hilariously unable to show confidence or self-control. The second contradiction of her essay springs from the first. Anita says she wants to open up a new vocabulary for feminism, but says it was simpler to adopt the unnatural segregation of the masculine/feminine dichotomy and base her entire essay around it. She claims to be against the terms, but can't even think outside of them.
I started Feminist Frequency because I felt like feminism was sort of trapped in academic spaces and politically radical spaces. They talked about systems of oppression and privilege, but it was in this language that was really hard to understand, and I wanted to create a space where feminism was easy to engage with in an accessible way.
When Anita Sarkeesian says she aims to bring feminism out of academic and radical spaces, she means her aim is to remove the bloat and 7th grade level writing that crippled her thesis paper and dumb it down to 4th grade with her videos.
I want.
However, her paper is more telling than she thinks. In it, we can see a framework laid out for the future of her career. She only cares about TV shows because that's all she actually watches. She's remiss to touch anything unless Joss Whedon is somehow related. She doesn't do original thinking or research and is satisfied with referencing and leaning on the things that she was taught in class. And when claiming to analyze or examine subjects, she pigeonholes them under archetypes instead of judging them holistically and matches them against a checklist of her feminist paradigm. Sarkeesian has a lot of diagrams, but there isn't a single one of these to be seen. If you attempt to read her thesis paper and find yourself wondering who she had intended as her audience, you're asking the wrong question. It was written about her, for her.
I think that popular culture is a common language that we all speak. The poet Muriel Reichsire wrote that the universe is made up of stories, not of atoms, and I really like that quote because I feel like pop culture is one of the ways that we learn about ourselves and the world around us.
When she name drops a poet nobody knows about and uses a generic quote, the point is to reinforce her image as a smart college grad. She doesn't think it's a mistake to benefit by parroting other people's research and ideas. In fact, it's how she defines herself. Her thesis paper is a design document for a courtroom drama with her as the judge. Her own personal TV show known as Feminist Frequency.
I get a lot of support from people who really like my videos, and they've even been used as educational tools in classrooms and screened at film festivals. I've actually gotten messages from mothers who've sat down and watched them with their daughters, which is so heartwarming to me.
Maybe that's inaccurate. Maybe her fantasy isn't a courtroom, but still has her at a podium. Maybe Feminist Frequency is a classroom. Oh. According to this meticulous footage of her hand, she could be married, even to a man, but it's safe to assume that she doesn't have kids yet. Not on YouTube though. On YouTube, she has 26,000 kids, or rather, students. A classroom is the perfect place for Sarkeesian because a classroom is where she has been her entire life.
But one way that I personally deal with comments is to moderate them, because I really want to create a space where people can come and engage with feminist ideas where they don't have to risk being harassed or ridiculed.
She gets to pick from the raised hands, she gets to assign the reading and determine what shouldn't be read, she gets to send people to the office, and most importantly, she gets to mold more people into people like her. So what are the lessons in Anita's classroom? During one session dedicated to a Kanye West music video, she tells us,
"The video is reprehensible. I really don't suggest going and watching it if you can avoid it, because I really wish that I hadn't seen it." To give you a sense of it, this video is built on this whole sexy dead woman trope, which seems to be popping up a lot lately. Monster is a single from his #1 hit album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
she thinks that this even qualifies as an observation. It is true. The entire point of the album is to expose the face of the music industry and Western society in general as unhappy, alienated, perverse, addicted, and extravagant from the perspective of somebody right in the thick of it, which explains why one of its songs ended up in a trailer for David Fincher's The Social Network. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy ended up being widely acclaimed by underground and mainstream media as the best album of 2010. But Anita asks,
so who's to blame?
As if any wrong were committed in the making of this work of art.
I'm not going to get into a shot-by-shot analysis of the video and the imagery used. In fact, I'm not even going to show it. This shouldn't have to be said, and sadly, it does need to be said. This is misogyny.
Was engaged in propaganda for communist causes.
Monster not only reduces women to sexual objects and perpetuates racist stereotypes, but it actually fetishizes the aspects of women that don't even require us to be physically alive. I think that bears repeating. This video fetishizes the aspects of women that don't even require us to be physically alive.
Anita doesn't understand the concept of fetish. Dead women are very niche. But let's look at that statement again. Necrophiliacs fetishize death. Of course, being dead doesn't require women to be alive. But what she's referring to, however, is a woman's body, which isn't a fetish. She also displays a willful ignorance of black culture, though that doesn't have much to do with her views on feminism aside from further illustrating her aversion towards perspective. Perhaps more interesting about her Kanye video is who else she implicates in what she perceives as an artless assault on women's rights, Amanda Palmer. It's worth noting that the album Who Killed Amanda Palmer, aside from being a clever reference to one of the best TV shows of all time, contains the controversial song Oasis, which details Amanda's own experience of having an abortion and being the victim of a rape. Amanda made a blog post defending the song, and among other things had this to say: "In art, everything must be fair game, everything must be explorable, everything must be speakable, or we go backwards, we go down." In all likelihood, Anita Sarkeesian saw the album cover and the title and dismissed it from the start, and is oblivious to the existence of Palmer's rebuttal. In a video she has since deleted from her YouTube channel in order to avoid taking responsibility,
Pornographic, overly sexualized, animated representation isn't bad enough.
Anita took on Bayonetta and its marketing strategies. She emphasized several Japanese subway posters which allowed passers-by to remove post-it notes from her nearly naked body, scratch and sniff style. Her contention was that it allowed people to disrobe Bayonetta, and that the act of disrobing a woman, an act which precedes a phenomenal number of sexual encounters in hetero and lesbian couples, is misogynist. In the same breath, she praised the introduction of women-only passenger cars in Japan, placing her both in favor of segregation and in support of the same attitude which tells women that if they dress a certain way, they should expect to get raped or molested.
I'm so sick of porn with my file sharing. What the hell, BitTorrent tracker sites?
And we have a video she made about porn ads on torrent trackers. The issues are simple. 1. She's going on a torrent tracker on a presumably modern web browser and isn't blocking ads. According to her, porn ads are a major barrier to women who want free movies, but it's really only a barrier to a demographic which is savvy enough to download a client, not savvy enough to have Chrome or Firefox with adblock installed, and also easily upset by pictures of naked women. She insists that the sites have porn ads because they want to be targeted at geeky young men. In reality, the reputation issues surrounding torrent trackers scare off most major advertisers, and porn sites are the only ones willing to pay for ad space. If piracy were legal, within a day she would be able to go on a plethora of glossy, Facebook-integrated, market-sampled torrent tracking social networks. But in her world, torrent trackers only list Linux distros and would rather cater to a minuscule market of technologically literate men who happen to enjoy clicking on suspicious ads than the massive majority of people who downloaded Britney Spears.exe off of LimeWire. For a person so adamant about being taught in schools, she's remarkably afraid of doing or citing any research on any subject in her videos. If her videos were actually meant to inform and enlighten, the first step in production would be to replace her talking head with the subject material, some footage, and maybe even a source or two. However, her video approach serves two purposes. First, Thanks to the lighting and makeup equipment she and her friends have, she is able to stand out from the typical YouTuber who is satisfied with a low-angle webcam shot of their chin. Second, it removes any distinct visual cue to indicate when she doesn't have a shred of evidence. In part 2 of this video, we will discuss why Anita Sarkeesian is not a feminist, and why she is delighted to receive death threats.